all here, and we're doing live streaming for the upcoming power journey to Mount Kailash, India, and beyond. So I wanted to welcome everybody who's visiting this webinar live, and we have scheduled for Guru Purnima this year to go to India and Kailash, uh, Lake Manasarova, and the abode of Shiva, and it'll be an amazing trip. And so I wanted to reach out to everybody, and we're going to kind of have this be somewhat spontaneous. If anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me directly. I am on Facebook and YouTube, but Facebook is a little bit better when it comes down to asking questions and interacting and so on and so forth. So I want to encourage everybody to kind of reach out to me and let me know your thoughts. But the trip is going to, I've been on this once before, and it's quite an extraordinary trip. It's a very intense trip, and it requires a lot of physical, how should I say, stamina, and to be able to walk and to deal with high altitudes. So one of the requirements is going to be is, how fit you are. Are you able to walk to various different aspects, sit in a car for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. We plan to go directly to Kathmandu, and then from Kathmandu to get oriented there for a couple of days, and then drive directly to uh, Tibet. And at that particular point in time, we'll stop along the way, and it's really a 2.5 week journey. And the reason why it takes so long is because you start off at 10,000 feet and then you wind up at 15,000 feet. And so it is a rigorous, taxing experience, to say the least. The food is different, the climate is different, the culture is different. When we're in Kathmandu, we'll be going to a couple of beautiful temples, Shiva temples that are there, and really begin the process. Now, these tours are designed specifically to be a process, meaning that we will engage in a process, which means a mantra process with a group intention, and designed to really elevate your experience, but with tangible results. And we'll discuss this in the classes before. We'll be meeting every week, checking in with everybody to make sure that all the items that you need for this trip to be successful, which means the right clothing, the right vitamins, the right supplements, the right medical things like antibiotics and anti-diarrhea, stuff like that. This is not a touristy type of trip. This is really a yatra. And what it means is that when you really start to engage with the process, the divine energy responds back saying, okay, well, you're going to come to one of the highest peak places on the planet. And Mount Kailash is one of the most sacred mountains in the world. It is part of the Himalayan landscape in Tibet. And so it really is designed to engage you in a meditation process meaning that you have a beginning, you have a mantra, you have an intention, you have a weekly schedule before, during we'll have meditations as well. and then afterwards. So, when I did this, we went with a group of about 7 people, and the energy is really intense, but it's so amazingly blissful, and it's so amazing to go to a yatra with other people because the experience is like no other experience. Like I said, it's not a tourist destination or a bucket list destination. It is designed for people that have serious commitment to meditation, spiritual path, and going to a power spot. Now, the question is, well, why this place? Why can't I do it in my hometown, or why can't I go to another mountain? You can, but the point of it is that this is what I would say is a an amazing power spot. What that means is that the vibrations that are on and within this mountain all is like nothing else. Um, People have tried to climb the mountain, but have never successfully done that. The only thing that um, the government allows is if you want, you can do circumambulation, which is walking around the mountain, and that is designed to help you receive the energy. And what's amazing about it is that you can do it if you want at a cost to take a helicopter to do that. Otherwise, we'll be doing everything on foot or on, excuse me. See, the energy is really working. um, or on donkey. So it'll be quite an extraordinary experience. Now, what do you need to prepare for that? Well, physically, you need to be in good physical shape. Second of all, you need to have a medical release done by your doctor that says that you can take medication that will help you to assimilate to high altitudes, which means that you need a doctor's sign off on it because there's no other way that we can do that. Um, and that's why it takes 2.5 weeks to do that, because we want to make sure that everybody is safe, secure, and healthy. Now, the trip itself is quite amazing. It's a lot of driving to get there, but once you get there, we'll have really amazing accommodations along the way, but it's in a remote part of Tibet. So you can imagine that the food is simple, the accommodations are simple, the transportation is simple, but the process is powerful. So, so the question is, like, what would be our intention? Well, receiving energy is one thing. Knowing how to implement it is another. Since you're going to the place of Shiva, he will somewhat energetically test you. The Kalishwar system and that whole lineage all goes back to Shiva through Datta. In the Kalishwar system, it's about connecting to Shiva in a powerful way, but it's also working with the Guru Parampara. And this lineage is the Dattatreya lineage, which is the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva aspect of creation. And in order to be a master, you really have to learn and understand what that means. Shiva is the destroyer, but not in a negative sense. He is the one that removes the darkness, removes the pockets of our life that block us from experiencing that bliss, experiencing that divinity, to experience that consciousness. So, when you focus on going to a power spot, the journey begins. What does that mean? The journey begins meaning that it's an internal process. It's an internal experience, and it's an internal transformation. As your beliefs begin to dissolve, as your mindset begins to expand, as your energy body begins to increase, you begin to have more and more freedom in your life. You understand what's temporary, what's permanent, and everything in between. So that's the spiritual side. And we have designed a specific process for this trip now. 29th of July is going to be Guru Purnima. So why are we going in the beginning of July? Well, we're going to go from Kathmandu to Tibet, back to Kathmandu, and then go to India. Because India is really the root of spirituality in the Eastern tradition. So, what we want to do is we want to come back to India and do a celebration in India that will culminate the journey that ties us back to the abode of saints, Shirdi, Penakonda, and maybe a couple other places that are surprises, samadhis of saints, and places of high vibrational frequency. Transformation will happen whether you resist it or not. And that's the beauty of the spiritual path, because a lot of times it is so powerful, so intense, but it is the way growth is. Have you ever noticed the spiritual path to be comfortable or pleasant all the time? No. It's a process, and that process involves a lot of introspection, a lot of development, and a lot of growth, and a lot of sacrifice. You know, today is the day of the resurrection. And when we had Good Friday, it represented the crucifixion, which was the death. But now the resurrection represents the rebirth. So similarly, this trip to India is like a death to our small self while identifying and embracing the individual expansion and rebirth. And what does that mean? You know, it's, I don't want to be, how should I say it? Let's be realistic. The spiritual path is not easy. It requires a lot of hard work. It requires a lot of persistence, discipline, determination. Why? Because we want to get back to source. Power spots are one of the fastest ways to really alchemize that transformation. When you're in a place where it has a divine vibration, a deity that resonates or that emits high positive, or a vortex. You know, when you go to these power spots, they are a vortex of energy. And so, as a vortex, like a hurricane, it's going to kick up a lot of dust. But if you have the determination and the commitment to your journey, then there's a tremendous amount of bliss. There's a tremendous amount of satisfaction. There's a tremendous amount of gratification that comes along with it. So it's going to be a 3 to 4 week journey. And so I really want to encourage you guys to really reach out to me. Let's talk one-on-one. Let's go into the details. The cost right now, we're looking at 5,500 without your travel expenses to get to and from India. So um, that is just the facts. Fuel prices have increased, travel costs have increased. There are limited amounts of uh, flights going in and out of the East because of the turbulence in the Middle East. So they have blown up, literally and figuratively. So, but if you feel called to this journey and you want to find more, what I recommend you do is you reach out to me, Paul at paulrea.com, and let's get on a Zoom call. Let's see whether this is a good match and we can go into more details. You can't help but to change when you enter into a process and you enter into a journey that is focused on your upliftment. It's like standing underneath a waterfall. You can't help but to get wet. So I guarantee you, if you have the time and you have the inclination, it will be a powerful trip that will change you. So the dates right now are first week of July to the end of July, culminating with Guru Purnima in India at Penakonda, where Srikaleshwar is entombed, and we'll engage in a process. And we'll be going as a group. So going as a group really helps us to digest the energy. It helps us to integrate the energy. It helps us in our travels. You know, you don't have to walk the path by yourself. You can engage with comrades and people that are committed to the same practice of meditation, sadhana, chanting, bhajans. The bliss of the absolute is there. So, like I said, everybody, I would invite you all to come and join me on this trip. We'll have a really amazing time. It will be a trip to remember. Let's put it that way. So reach out to me, send me an instant message, send me an email, and I'll respond back, and we can further the conversation and have you eventually join us on this absolutely fabulous trip to Mount Kailash and India. Namaste.